Hey gang, Jeff Cram here, bringing you the first in a series of videos designed to improve your drawing techniques. Now, I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube with regards to how to draw this particular character, how to draw Batman, Wolverine, or whatnot, and those are all great, and I'll probably do some of those in the future. But to start, I want to make some really basic drawing videos that give you some of the tools in your toolbox that will apply to any drawing you're doing. You don't necessarily need to have a specific character in mind or a specific illustration in mind to use these techniques. They're just universal techniques that are kind of like building blocks for your illustrations. I'm hoping to do a bunch of these before I get into some more advanced techniques. So let's get over the drawing table and see how this turns out. Okay, so for today's video we're going to be talking about line weight. Basically all that means is showing depth of figure based on the light source with the thickness or thinness of the lines we're using. You can use this in most illustration instances where you're using ink, but you can also use it in your pencil drawings to kind of give them added weight. When we're doing pencil drawings, a lot of times we can just push harder with the lead to create a darker line, but when we want to do a finished ink illustration, that's not going to work. The ink is black, so you push harder, it's not going to get more black. So the way that we show more importance to certain lines is through weight. So for an example, to practice, what we're going to do is just draw a quick circle, and we're not picking our pen up, I'm just using a Sharpie, it's not a big deal. And right there we have a pretty basic circle. I realize that it's sort of at an angle for you. I'm still figuring this out. But the point is, this is what we would call a spaghetti line, where it's just all one thickness all the way around. If we want this circle to seem more three-dimensional, but we don't want to get into a lot of shading and cross-hatching, which I'll get into in later videos, for the time being, we're going to worry about line weight. So let's say we have the light coming from this direction, and we want to show shadow more on this side, so all we're doing is just making this line away from the light a little thicker. Ta-da! Super simple. And depending on how intense we want that to be, we can thicken it up even more. If we go a little too crazy, if we don't show a transition here, if we just go like this, start super thick, then we may actually change the idea here and make it look more like it's a button. End of the world. So line weight, beyond just being thick or thin lines, is also about this transitional area too. So you can practice that. And I think circles tend to be universally used just because we're often dealing with more organic things. So if we're like showing musculature in a superhero or something like that, circles are more relevant in how we're going to do that thick to thin scenario. So let's say this one, the light's just coming down here. So what are we going to do? You guessed it. Make the line thicker down here. Pretty simple, right? Alright, but Jeff, I'm not just going to be drawing circles all day. Why not? But let's say you are actually going to draw something fun. Let's say we're going to draw an arm here really quickly. Bicep, forearm coming down here. Okay. With a lot of like superhero comics, the light tends to be just sort of above and maybe slightly towards the viewer. This guy has really been working out, so we want to show his muscles, you know. This looks cool, but we really want them to stand out. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pretend the light's kind of coming down like this. See if I can get better in frame for you, sorry. So I'm going to do things like punch up this line here. Maybe the top of this one, and the bottom of this. Leave the top of this thinner, but as I get away from that light source, it gets a little thicker. Same here. A little bit, because the bulk of this is shading it just slightly. Then this is a pretty stark shadow right there. Nice and easy. Ta-da. A little bit there, but then a lot here. Come down. So you can see that that's already added weight to this drawing, even though I haven't gone in and done a bunch of cross hatching or anything like that. Put in this radial muscle, same thing. I'm going to punch up this right here because it's away from that, on the other side of it. This one I'm going to leave. Okay. Doodle, doodle, doodle. But you get the idea, and you can crank this up depending on how stark you want that lighting to be. Okay. Maybe it's a really bright light, or this guy's costume or skin tone is like super reflective, so we punch that up even more. Okay. Now, we can also use line weight, not just for lighting, but also for things like contact. And what I mean by that is, let's say we're drawing a hand. We're just going to draw a quick, dirty hand here. Okay. And it is grabbing onto a bottle or something, right? Or it's touching the surface of this ball. Okay, does that make sense? So what we can do with line weight here is make it thick except for near where we want the lines, the hand to touch the other object. Okay, so all I'm doing is just punching up the rest of the lines, but where I believe it comes in contact with the ball, I'm leaving thin and even open. And that can denote a point of contact with whatever this is. Okay? So it's another thing to think about when you're putting your lines down. You can come back through and sort of punch it up with some line weight trickery. Now there is more to it as far as, okay, we want to get into rendering and showing 3D form and all that, and I'll get into that probably in the next video, which we'll talk about different hatching techniques. But for now, this is a very basic tool to use that will allow you to immediately improve your drawings. Let's do a quick face here to show another example of how line weights can help us out. I'm just going to draw like a quick jawline, nose, right? I'm purposefully drawing like no line weight. It's very difficult for me to not put some thick to thin in here. Okay, so real quick line for a face. Okay, so again, that's not bad, it's just a quick face sketch, but if we want to like pull that off the page a little bit more and give some weight to it, we can do a few things like make this line a little bit thicker, right? We're showing underneath the cheekbones, or giving this heroic profile here. And I've already decided just by the drawing that the light must be coming roughly this direction. So I'm going to punch that up. Maybe I'll just shade in that over here. Now this nostril, I don't want to put any lines on top here. If the light is bright enough, I'll just leave it. And that will, again, show that, oh, there must be light coming this direction. Same thing for the eyes. Right, this this brow kind of going to stick out a little bit more. Same for here on this side of it. Right. Same for the mouth. Okay. Maybe we'll throw a lip under here. And then under the jawline, we can do the same thing. It's like pre-shading. We're not quite getting into blocking out real shadows here. But we're just kind of giving an indication. Like so. Okay. No, that's really messed up. Anyway. Same thing with the hair. We can do that here, but you want to be careful with hair just because you can make it look like a big plastic mop if you try going too crazy. We'll do a video about hair and all that jazz too in the future. But that's it. Basically, we're just talking about regular lines versus, thick, thin, thick, right? You can do that, no problem. So now you can start finding ways of plugging this into your illustrations. You're probably doing it partially unconsciously right now. When you're drawing with a pencil, let's say, you're probably using line weight principles without even realizing it, right? Because you're drawing that ball and you're probably already like, just without even thinking about it. And that's great. That's what we're talking about here. Any shape that we want to lend some three-dimensional credence to without going full hog into shading, we just kind of go like that, don't we? Right? Same thing with the hand here. I'm going to draw a quick hand. And we just go. And we don't really think about it, we're just pushing harder, right? So what I'm showing you is being a little bit more conscientious about it, but also showing you a way that if you can move that thick to thin, you can do it with ink and create the same effect without going too crazy into a bunch of hatching and all that stuff, which is great, we're going to do that. But I think if you can learn to show what you can through line weight, it'll make you a better illustrator. Okay, everybody, that's it. No fuss, no muss, really. If you enjoyed this video, as always, please click the like and subscribe down below, and don't forget to click the little bell thing so you get notifications of the future videos in this series. If you guys have any thoughts or ideas on videos that I can do in the future, go ahead and leave those in the comments below as well. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Have a great day, everybody.